Welcome aboard. It's a beautiful day here, as you can see. Let me turn my camera around. There we go. Looking, let's see, this turned around here. There we go. Okay, look at the beautiful day out here. It's a nice afternoon, and we're going to go on a tour around the community, which is just growing by leaps and bounds. I'm here with Kristen.
Hi.
Say hi. She is the chauffeur today. So you'll see we're in good hands. We have our speed limit sign here. We got to do
my best.
Yep. Got to keep it under 20 miles per hour, 30 kilometers. We have not only people from the U.S., but from around the world. So we have to make sure we have kilometers there as well. And we have a lot of crew members here building houses, and these guys are in a hurry sometimes, but now we have families. Kristen kids are, riding their bikes around. Emily's are here riding around. David and Megan's kids come and they're playing in the sport court, and got a lot of people walking their dogs and cats. And so just got to keep it slow. In Belize, there's an island called Key Cocker, and their motto is "Go slow." And I love it. They've got a sign that goes to the airstrip, and it says, "Go slow." We have 2 cemeteries and no hospital. So in general, we go slow. But I think we've got a pretty good crowd here. Looks like 25 people so far. We actually had 120 people register. So we want to give as many people a chance to join us as possible. Let's see. Oh, I see it. Yep, Elisa's already got the recording going. Oh, I see Elizabeth is here. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth.
And Bruce, Bill Dines. Oh, wow, we got a great bunch of owners. That's excellent. All right. Well, I'll try to catch everybody here, but if I miss anybody, just know that we miss you. We wish you were here, but I'm glad you're joining us virtually. Okay, we're up to about 30 now. I think it's a good number to get going on. So I'm going to start by showing you the map. Kristen, if you'll hold that, that'll be great. So this is a new illustrated map, actually, that Elisa had prepared, and we're going to keep adding to it. But now you see where the graphic artist did a great job here in our cottage row. Actually has all of the cottages by color. So, and each different house, exactly as the elevation is shown on the illustrated map. And y'all can get a copy of this. I guess Elisa can send this out to everybody who's attended. And it shows everything from the entrance to the route that we're going here around the town square. And then we're going to go down Cottage Row, and we'll continue towards the Riverside Park there. We'll take a peek over here at JD and Marianne's house and see Jessica's down there, and then continue on past Frank and Amy's house, all the way down past Kristen's, around the peninsula, and then back around past the sport court. Oh, we got somebody entering. Okay, sorry. And past Chris's house, and just along where the riverfront road is, past the castle and Stephen's house, and then we'll make our way back around past Sandy's, the Maya Mound area here where we have nice canopy road, and then back to the entrance. And then we'll start the Q&A as Kristen takes us back to her house. So we'll be over here doing the Q&A overlooking the riverfront. So without further ado, we're going to head towards the town square, which as you can see on the map, it's a square, and it's based on really kind of back to the age of antiquity, traditional town development using the ratio phi, the sacred geometry. It's just kind of the ideal human scale that they found that makes for a good town square, where you have a place for mom and pop shops all the way around. You got a place for farmers market, cinema on the green, art in the park, kids playing, soccer, having picnics. And this is our town square here. It's got some nice shade trees and even more on the way. Dave Carlson, who's our tree man, he goes around and voluntarily plants trees and waters them and trims them. And he's got a helper now, and pretty soon he's going to need more helpers, the way that things are growing. Right now it's the dry season, and so you'll see that things, Here's our gas truck. They come around, gas truck comes around once a week actually, and supplies the butane for people for their water heaters and stuff. There's Christy. All right. All right. Her house is under construction. And so we're going down Cottage Row here, and you can see all of the different cottages and everybody. Mary's planted a bunch of trees there. Victoria's put her kitchen out on the front porch there. Vern has got a bunch of bougainvillea planted. Screened in porches or open porches, just depending on the personal tastes. And those are cottages, but we also have bungalows, like Donald's bungalow here. It's got a big wraparound porch. It's a little bit bigger than a cottage. And we have other bungalows there, like Tim and Tammy's, 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a loft. And then these are kind of, expanded cottages here. Mark and Gail's place, John's place. And then we have another bungalow over here, Tim and Laura's place here, another wraparound porch. And then over here, we got Emily, where she's staying at. This is actually a rental unit. It's called the Belita. I'll stop right here for just a second. Yeah. Okay. Over this way, you can see JD and Mary Ann's house. That's a villa on the riverfront. And that is actually our model. We use that as a model home now. We have different variations. I think we probably have 3 or 4 variations of that home now that are built. And so it's a good starting point. And that's what we find that people do, is that they start off with like one of our models. This is the Belita, and let's see, got this little stabilizer. No, it's all right. Getting used to this little stabilizer here. So this is the Belita model. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a loft, handicapped master suite and kitchen. So really just a lot of different options. The house we're going to pass here in just a minute on the right is, I wanted to, while we're here, let's take a look at the Riverside Park. And so this has a couple of plum trees. These are the local plums that the Belizeans call cracky plums. When you bite into them, it's like a Granny Smith apple, real crunchy. But the original founder of the farm here was really into planting plum trees. So those are sort of an homage to Mr. Silva. And there's the river. So this is a nice river access point. This is where people will go in and they'll just hang out by the river and see the sunset. As you can see this time of day, the sun is starting to set. So it's a beautiful sunset view in the river. You bring, some lawn chairs, you put them there and just cool off in the river. And we also have river otters down there, and they can splash around. We had barbecues and a lot of different events. Every year in March, there's a big canoe race, and they go right past here. The first morning of the race when they leave San Ignacio, and it's a 4-day race, goes all the way to the Caribbean Sea. And this is kind of the beginning of it here at the headwaters of the Belize River. So this is kind of one point where, as I mentioned, well, Kristen backs up, I'll show you on the map here. This is located right over here on the map. So we came down the Cottage Row, and people put in there, and it's about an hour float to get to the point over here. And still on the riverfront in Carmelita, you can go on an hour float and never leave our stretch of river, which is really, really nice. And it's a nice float, especially this time of year. So we have inner tubes, canoes, kayaks. Some folks will even just float down in a life jacket. And it's fairly shallow, a lot of areas, but some areas it does get a little bit deeper. Here are a couple of our residents hanging out, as they want to do. And then Frank and Amy's place there, they have a beautiful custom house. It's got a pool in the backyard, gourmet kitchen, bar with a wine cooler, refrigerator, ice maker, semi-detached guest quarters, and an outdoor kitchen. It's on Wednesday, so today they hold these special group meetings. They have a church on Sundays, and then they have like Bible study classes on Wednesdays. And so we have different groups that do different things. They're yoga, like I mentioned, canoe, kayaking, gardening, of course. We're Carmelita Gardens, so gardening is a big thing. Chess playing, biking. We have our sport courts. Now we've got pickleball. There's another house that's under construction. here. That's very similar to Kristen's house, which is right here. And now she slows down. She's got a lead foot today. She's in a hurry. So just chasing the sun. But her beautiful house is just recently finished, and she's moved in with her 3 lovely children and making a home right on the river. And they're doing homeschooling. So we have more and more families that are joining Carmelita Gardens now. So we have the sport court, and then we also have things like a pool and then a community center. And I'm even thinking now with the just the creative juices flowing, we got kids that I think we need a little playhouse, some kind of a place like a little theater where they can entertain us old folks. Here's one of our owners. They've purchased a series of lots next to their house. And so they've, putting up all of these gardens, and they got some nice sunflowers there. They've got a dog run over there. So we have, like I said, just a lot of different options that people are doing with their custom homes, their landscaping. It looks like they're preparing another bed over here. We recently sold this home. This is it's a good friend of ours, Jerry. He's a friend of my grandparents from Minnesota, and he's ready to downsize. It's just him. He built this big, beautiful home, and so now we have a couple who's just recently purchased it. And so Jerry is moving. Still, he's nearby, but he's just kind of downsizing. And it's a beautiful house called Villa Scollegato, which means like detached, I guess, in Italian. So, or unplugged is the way he liked to put it. So that is actually, believe it or not, Villa Scollegato, I get on the ground floor, wood on the top, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. And then for Jerry, we expanded it a lot to include a wraparound porch and a bedroom and bathroom on the ground floor. But we can do a lot of things. We've got a great design staff and drafting staff that can really, make your house dreams come true. We can start with a model, or we can start from scratch, or you can just build a model as is. And we can also schedule very, specific bespoke tours. So if you want to tour the inside of a home, you can schedule with Kristen a time to do that, and we can make arrangements with the owners ahead of time. This is Ted and Sylvia's house here, which is really an interesting house. I mean, it still has the classical lines, but it's a dodecagon. It's a 12-sided house. And so you can imagine, the builders scratching their heads or giving me a hard time about designing the house. Like, Phil, can you design a house with right angles next time, please? But it actually turned out beautifully. Ted and Sylvia postponed their retirement for a little while, so I had an opportunity to live in the house and really get a feel for it. And it lives so nice. It just flows. The airflow is nice. The floor plan's great. We can even build 12-sided houses here.
Yes, really nicely.
What's that?
If you ask really
If you ask nicely, yes. Like I said, it was a little complicated build, but it turned out beautifully. And so, here's some other of the river front properties that we have here to give you a, I'm going to kind of get an orientation on the map if you'll hold that there. Okay. So if we go and we look at the map again, let me get this stabilizer here. Sorry, I'm getting used to this little device that Elisa gave me.
Phil's playing with some new gadgets.
It's pretty cool. Getting used to it. Okay, so we're right here now. And so this is Ted and Sylvia's house, the dodecagon. It's on lot 175. And so we have lot 171 right here, which is available. And it's a great riverfront lot. I'll show you, this is actually an older map. It's, here, it's available. It's right there. 171, and I'm going to get out and just kind of walk over real quick so you can see what the riverfront looks like there. Okay, I don't know. Sometimes it's windy. We always have a nice breeze, but sometimes it's windy and it's hard to hear. Hopefully, you'll be able to hear okay. So it's a nice view. As I walk over there, you can see it's got a great sunset view, which would be on the roadside out there, would be kind of facing sunset. And then what's nice about this lot is you can see my shadow here this time of the day. the house also provides that kind of shadow. So when you open up this kind of grassy area right here, you can cut that down. Same thing that Ted and Sylvia and Jerry and other folks have done. And we did a little bit right here just to give you an idea of what the view would be like. So you're right on the river here, and down here you've got, it's like I said, just kind of underbrush a little bit. We want to leave all of the big trees. That's what helps hold the riverbank. But you can see it's a really nice, calm river here. You'd be able to build a dock like other folks have done, and then get a good view of the river. And the shady side will be on the riverside here. And it's also the side where the breeze comes in. So when I was living at Ted and Sylvia's, again, we would be on the back porch over there, which you can see in the distance. And that breeze is coming from this direction, and the shade is provided by the house there. So it's really a great orientation. And so the owner of this lot is actually now building, we'll show you, he's got a tiny house that he's building over on the River Club. So he's decided to have that kind of as his plan B tiny house. And so we've now just put this lot on the market. So 171 is the only one now that's really available with that orientation. Sunset towards the front of the house, but then you have the shade on the backside when you're hanging out in the evenings, looking out over the river. So we'll continue now on towards right over there is this nice big beautiful tree is called a rain tree. That's a tree that it was actually, there was a movie in it was the 50s with Elizabeth Taylor and Montgomery Clift called Rain Tree County, and they talk about the rain tree, and whoever finds the rain tree has found the secret of happiness in life. And so here we have actually a number of rain trees, but this is kind of the biggest and most notable one. And we actually set it aside in a park area right over here. Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, so we're going past right here, coming from the peninsula. So there's the rain tree. Yeah, and it's got the blooms. Yeah, the blossoms there. Yeah, you can see now. Yeah, it's all beautiful pink blossoms. And there's a big limb here that's kind of hard to see right now with all of the foliage. But we had a secret of happiness. Actually, I had a friend of mine from Florida that came down with his girlfriend years ago, and he's going to propose to her. So we hung a tree swing from the limb there under the rain tree, and it was a mahogany seat, and we had engraved, "Will you marry me?" And so he proposed to her there under the rain tree, and she said yes. And so that's great. Now they've got a great family with 3 lovely children. Here, Chris and Diana's house, you can see there's a rain tree behind their house as well. And they situated their house there, and they have a beautiful riverfront, and they're cleared out an area, not only there at the river, the top of the riverbank, but also there's kind of a terraced area below. They have a nice view of the river. On this side over here, oh, we're passing by. Oops, sorry. A little bit too fast there. It's all right. We have there. Let's see if I can turn. Yeah, that's our. Oops, this way. This is our sport court over there. So that's where the kids do their physical education during their homeschooling. But we also have the pickleball court, basketball court, and then we've got a horseshoe pit. And we're just adding other activities all of the time for the young and the young at heart. So we've got a lot of those here. And now as we come around, this is kind of the riverfront road. Oh, but first we got to, this is always a pleasant sight. We see Dave out there. He's our tree man. He's constantly planting.
We're doing a virtual tour.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This whole area here, all of Carmelita Gardens was a farm at one time, and so it was totally denuded of trees. And now you should just see all the trees coming up. Dave has planted a lot. We planted some like right away 10 years ago when we started, a lot of fruit trees, and so now we have just an amazing mango harvest every year.
On this map, actually, one of the things we did is you can see the trees that Phil planted 10 years ago down our grand orchard. Dave took us on a walk just a few days ago and told us about all the different types of trees. So we have mango, avocado, mean, just
Soursop, Suriname cherry,
yeah, there's a bunch of
jackfruit,
Belizean trees.
also,
Yeah, breadfruit. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we've got quite a variety of trees growing
Yep.
already,
Yep.
ready to fruit.
Yep. Okay, and so they're right now under construction. There is Andre's tiny house that I was mentioning before, that he's switched from the lot he had over there to now the first house in our river club. So we'll be building other units here. Now we can continue over there. So as you can see, the construction technique there, it's now our main construction technique, and that is using what's called Coventech, which is a brand name, but it's an insulated wall. So you have foam insulation in the center, and then concrete is on sprayed on each side of it with a finish coat. There's a rough coat and then a finish coat. So it ends up being about an inch and a half thick on each side, and it's insulated. So you have the insulation quality, but you also have the longevity, the low maintenance, low insurance rates of a concrete house.
And it just looks
And yeah, it looks great. And so that is our standard one. Here's Mark's house. It's just getting the finishing touches being put on it now. And he's arriving this weekend, just in time for the holiday weekend and our picnic. We're having a picnic on Friday. So, we've had some picnics before, and they've always been well attended. And we have, horseshoes and cornhole and just classic, barbecue and hot dogs and all. Here's a house that was started several years ago, but not really finished. And so the owner has promised he's going to come down and finish it. We can't miss Steven's house over here. This is another beautiful custom house. Oh, come on, camera. There you go. What's it doing? Oh, there we go. Yeah. So Steven just actually inaugurated his library on the ground floor. He has a library that he's opened up to the public, and he had the grand opening last week, and now it's open. He has regular hours. I don't remember, Kristen, what it was, like 8:30 to
8:30 to 10:30 on Tuesdays.
On Tuesdays, there we go. Yep. So it's it's another thing that the community, the residents are doing. Our motto is that we're independent together, and so everybody's got their independent houses that are independently powered, and we have a lot of individualists, so they're all very independent, but we come together as a community, and there are things like that independently people do that together it helps people. So the library is one of them, and I'd mentioned yoga and gardening and church services, and there's other things that people just organize themselves and invite the community to. So this is our neighbor over here. Is a farm that's managed by the Mennonites, and they rotate beans and corn, and they get like 3 crops a year out of that by rotating between the corn and the beans. Now this is Sandy's house, almost ready. She's anxious to get in, and we're anxious to get her in. So we think we're just a few weeks away from the final touches and having a golden ribbon. We like to celebrate the beginning of houses with a golden shovel and do a golden ribbon at the end to celebrate a housewarming and moving in party. So we're looking forward to that. We've got several golden ribbons, but also even more golden shovels getting ready to start. We have, I think it's about 10 houses right now in the pipeline that are in either completed the design and drafting, or they're in process of drafting and engineering, or they're just queuing up into design. And so they'll start the building process soon. Because of the volume of building that we have, we are now really revamping our whole construction system from kind of small pickup truck builders, which has been fine for a couple of houses at a time. But now we potentially can have 10 or more houses going at the same time. And that just requires a whole new system. So we've built a construction yard we call the Riverbend Depot, where we will have all the materials come in. We'll be able to process the materials and then get them to the respective job sites and just really be much more efficient. We're able to reduce our waste and reuse certain things, like with the Coventech panels, for example. When you cut out a 3x6 window, you could actually reuse that piece now for the gable end or somewhere else. So we now have enough volume that we can start to get these economies and efficiencies of scale. And so Kristen just went by. Actually, this is our nice canopy road. I'll get out here, show you. This is where we have some lots along the side here. But this is one of our big Maya mounds. In our Maya Mound Park, we actually have true Maya mounds here, and we've uncovered pottery shards and different artifacts here. Just really right at the surface, just kick some dirt around and you'll find things there. But right along here, we have this nice canopy road, and we've got a couple of lots available here still. It's a really nice area, nice and pleasant and shady. In Belize, the motto that's on the Belize flag is Sub Umbra Florio, which means under the shade we flourish. So you'll find that's true. You're always trying to find a little bit of shade down here, and it's very pleasant. You can see the trees moving with the breeze, and we have more and more trees. Like I said, it was none of these trees. Like I look over here at this lot over there, and you look at all of the trees that are on this lot. There used to be no trees there. What we did right after taking over, this was actually being managed by Mennonites doing corn and beans as well. So when we didn't renew the lease, we brought in about 80 head of cattle, and they were really good mowers and fertilizers. And it didn't take long for trees to start popping up. And now we have a lot of trees all throughout the community, and more being planted, as I mentioned earlier. So this is another cottage that really started off as just a one-bedroom cottage shell. One of our owners, who's actually now our COO, Rich, he first was an investor in a few lots, and then he built a spec shell, just the shell of the cottage. And then we had a couple, Bruce and Cheryl, that purchased it and finished off the interior. And they actually added a whole wing to it. They added a master suite to the side, and just recently completed a few finishing touches still to put on it. But it's really turned out beautifully, very nicely done, and really happy for them. So they're actually decided they're going to be snowbirds. They're from Montana. And we have some other Canadians, some Canadians here that are from Saskatchewan, from other places that the colder climates where they like to be snowbirds. So this time of year, anybody that lives up north or in the northern climates, understand. I'm from Michigan, so I know that to get out of those winter months and come down here to beautiful Belize, and then back again for the summer. And so they've decided to do that, and we have other folks that are doing the same. Christy, you saw Christy earlier out on the front porch of the cottage. They go just a little bit farther here. We can get a better angle. Yeah. So this is her house that's under construction. So she came down to stay for a little while she made some different selections, tiled, wood species, faucets, sinks, things like that. So we recommend, making those decisions as early as possible. And you can see that her roof is getting ready to go on. So she's come down at just the right time to make those selections. And now she's going to go back to the States for a little while. She's going to go and travel. And then when her house is finished, she'll be ready to come down, have a golden ribbon, and move in. We have other people that have done it remotely. We actually, during COVID, we had people that purchased their lot, designed their home, built the home, before they ever stepped foot in Belize or in Carmelita Gardens for that matter. It's a real big leap of faith, but it's worked out, and we're really happy for them. And then we have other folks that come down and move and live here the whole time. They basically make the permanent move, and then their house is being built along the way. Just hold it here for just a second. And so there's another house that's under construction there. And then right over here is, I mentioned earlier, the Riverbend Depot. This is where we will have a place to not only bring in and store material ahead of time for houses, so the material is waiting for us and we're not waiting for the material. We can also process, they can bend rebar, they can get wood prep, they can prepare wooden railings, rafters, things like that. And also we'll have the place that can be a maker space. So residents, if they want to do a little bit of woodworking or something like that, they have a place where they can go and do that. We'll have tool rentals. You know, it's a nice thing living in a tight-knit community, things like that, where, you know, unlike, you know, a lot of places where, you know, you need a tool, you go to Home Depot, you buy it, even if you just use it one time. And it's like, you don't always need a Sawzall, but by golly, when you need one, you need one. And you might just need it one time. So having a place where you can rent, or, you know, we have residents that have some of their tools that they're, you know, happy to share. So, you know, it's just but again, it's just a nice thing about a tight knit community. And yep, here's Tim and Tammy's house, recently finished. And in the backyard is part of the orchard that Kristen mentioned earlier. So they've got mango trees and Suriname cherry trees and the breadfruit trees in their backyard. And then John's house here. We had passed these earlier, Mark and Gail's. And you can see just like the different landscaping, different house colors. Some are more whimsical than others. And here's an interesting thing. This is a lot here where 3 of our residents, Mark and Donald and Dave, all went in together and they purchased this lot, and now they're actually making it like a public park, which is really cool. They're all into gardening and planting trees. Like I mentioned, you know, Dave is our tree guy. He's known as the tree guy. And Donald helps out in the garden, and Mark has really got a green thumb. He's a horticulturist. So they went in together, and I like to refer to them as the tree amigos. And they went in together on this this property and are now making it into a nice public space. So yeah, we're kind of back to the cottage row, and we're going to head over to Kristen's, where we can then begin the Q&A. So actually, you know, we can start it whenever Elisa's ready. I still see we got about 40 people on, which is great. This is really, I think, one of our biggest tours that we've had. Like I mentioned, we had about 120 people register, and we always have people that, you know, more register than actually show up. But 40 is great.
Couldn't make it, and they want the replay.
Okay, so we're recording it. That's right. Kristen reminded me, we're recording it for the folks that couldn't make it today. It's sometimes it's hard to get just the right time. You know, it's here 4:30, but 6:30 Eastern time, 3:30 on the West Coast. But it seems to be a pretty good time. All right, so oh, there's Stephen on his bike. Okay. So we're gonna open up microphones here, right? And it looks like we have in the chat line, if I can get this here, we have some questions. Okay. Oh, some of this was just technical things. Let's see. Okay. How many young families are currently living here? So there are 2 living on site, and 3 children each, and they're all about the same ages, ranging from 7 to 12. Yep. So they're good friends. In fact, they have 2 oldest are boys. They're about the same age.
They're 1 day apart.
1 day apart. So wow, literally 1 day. Wow, that's great. So yeah, Kristen's oldest, Ian, and Emily's oldest, Gregory, and they just recently competed in a chess tournament, and they did well. They're learning a lot, and there were apparently everything from children to 75-year-olds competing in the tournament.
I think Gregory played somebody that was like 78.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Okay, so we're going to go up to Kristen's porch. Put the map here. Water bottle. Okay. Okay. Yeah, nice breezy day. So right across the road from Kristen's is everybody has a name for a house, and Dave, the tree guy there with the green roof, it's the greenhouse. Around there as well. So this is. Oh, hard to hear. Oh, because of the wind. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, just real quick. There's a nice view here before we go inside. So you can see the rain tree over there, and Ted and Sylvia's house, and the Tortuga, Jerry's house, Dan and Urba's house, and their gardens, and then on over to Dave's house. You can see Chris and Diana's house in the distance. The sport court over there, Cottage Row. And then, yeah, Frank and Amy's house over there, and the one under construction for Matt and Rhonda. So, yeah, nice view here in the front. And take you inside Kristen's house here, and then we'll go and see the back view as well. So look at the beautiful teak floors she has here. So we have a really good friend. I was close friends with his father, actually, before he passed. And about an hour from us, I mean, a mile from us, not an hour, 1 mile from us is Blackburn Farms. And Mr. Neal, he came to Belize about 25 years ago and started planting 5,000 teak trees every year as a legacy investment. So Michael and the rest of the family inherited it. And now Michael is retired. He's living down well. Retired from the Canadian military, and now he's set up a wood shop and a kiln, and he's making beautiful wood floors. So these teak wood floors, as well as teak furniture, cabinets. It just does just beautiful, beautiful work. So you can appreciate the teak floors and the work that went into those. And then the beautiful kitchen here. There's Elisa. All right, there's our moderator, and videography, accounting, she does it all. It's amazing. And nice high ceilings here. She's got a pantry over there in the corner, and there's a little pass-through window to the to her desk inside the master suite. And turn around over here, nice big loft up there that's set up for the homeschooling for the kids. And then come over here, we got the girls' room over here. So they've got bunks and Barbie dolls and little girl things there. Laundry room over here. We've got the kind of Jack and Jill bathroom here with the toilet and tub room. And then Ian's room is through here. And so you can see he's got his desk area and place to play chess, and Ian does online chess, as well as he and Gregor are always competing with each other. I'll take you upstairs to the loft area up here. And so just still getting settled in. I'm amazed though what she's done in such a short time and just moved in and really settled in. Now, this is a little like Romeo Juliet balcony we did here. And so this casement window, they can open it up and go out there, and, you know, I don't know, they can just see the nice view, sing, do spitballs. I'm not sure what kids do, but nice view down from the loft here. And actually can even see through the window over to Frank and Amy's house, straight over there. So it's really turned out nicely up here. Very functional for the family with 3 kids. So now we go out to the back porch with a beautiful view of the river. Again, it's just about sunset, so you can see the sun there kind of slowly sinking into the distance, and the river just kind of lazily going by. It was a great day for a float. Sunday, we went on a nice canoe trip from here over towards Spanish Lookout, which is the Mennonite community not far from here. And they actually have a hand cranked ferry that goes across the river and takes like 3 vehicles at a time. So we left our truck over there, and then came here and got in the canoe and paddled down. It was I think we were on the river for probably about 5 hours, but we took our time. We stopped at some islands and just did some swimming and brought our mask and snorkel, looking for some river shrimp and things like that. Just a nice Sunday on the river. I think that's it for the house tour. Kristen, you want to join? We're going to be out here, but the construction crew is going to be going for a little while. Yeah, usually they wrap up about 4:30, but I think because of the short holiday week, they are. Okay, I think they're working a little bit extra today.
Is there something to stick that on?
Yeah, it's got a tripod. So let me turn this around. Yeah, that's good. Isn't that fancy?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. All right.
Okay, can turn this
There
way.
now. Okay, now you can see. Kristen,
Hi.
that's better. You don't have to see me.
Yeah, you don't need the hat in here. All right, do we have yeah, here. I'm gonna see if I can pull up the comments and, or in the chat. Okay. Okay. Phil said, okay, how many young families? How are utilities provided? You didn't address that one yet. right,
No,
Phil?
we just
Okay.
said, yeah, we,
It appears that
really
electrical is
families.
underground. What about water, sewer, internet? Well, we're an off-grid community, so the one utility that I guess you would say is off or is on the grid would be the gas delivery that you saw going around. So my house, for example, has the stove and the dryer on gas or butane down here, but everything else is off grid. So I have a solar room. I don't know if you showed them the solar room, but
Oh, no, I didn't.
I've got a solar system that powers the rest of the house, and then the septic or the sewer water. The septic is all. I mean, you can walk through the septic.
Yeah. So it's a kind of a typical septic, although it's a 3-chambered. A lot of places in the States or Canada, you might have 1 or 2 chambers, but we go ahead and do 3 chambers, and that just helps the effluent become more irrigation quality by the time it gets. And we try to avoid toxic soil conditions. We've got a beautiful environment here, so that is our septic system. And then you mentioned the solar. We size the solar to the lifestyle and budget. So most people, though, what we're finding now is we're sort of settling into about a 4 to 5 kilowatt system. People will add batteries instead of using generators now because the cost of batteries and storage has gone down so much. You can get 3 more batteries for the price of a generator, and those 3 batteries takes the whole system up to 20 to 25 kilowatt hours, which is great. You can air conditioning, refrigerators, all sorts of stuff running with that size of a system. You can start smaller and then test it and then upgrade as needed. It's kind of plug and play. It's upgradable. And so some people do that. They say, well, you know what? I'm going to acclimate. I'm not going to use an air conditioner or, whatever it is that they decide they're going to do. And then later they decide that, okay, well, maybe they do want an air conditioner or they want some other electrical appliances. You just never know. There's a lot of electrical devices. And I've initially underestimated the appetite for electrical devices by my fellow Americans, and some of the systems were undersized, but it was easy to upgrade them. People are like, oh wait, I use this much and I use this. And so don't be afraid of that. You can start and then upgrade. And then the water system's the same thing. We try to size the rain storage. So we have catchment, filtration, and then storage. And we do the storage embedded into the architecture. So it's in the cisterns, which are below porches or ground floor rooms or slabs.
Or under my storage.
Under your storage, right.
And in the case where you are potentially run out of water, so we've had people who've needed to fill up if they're, watering plants, et cetera, there is a water service that can come around and fill the cistern. So it's not like once you run out, you're out of water. There are some options. One of the things I was going to mention is that the first 2 years that I lived here, I was living in a home over in an area called Banana Bank, and is a concrete home, and it wasn't positioned to quite catch the breeze. And what I have noticed about living at Carmelita with the Coven Tech is that when my kids and I are getting ready to go to bed, we're kind of in the hot season right now. April and May are some of the warmer months of the year in Belize. We turn on the AC for about an hour when everyone's getting ready for bed, and then shut it off, and the rooms stay cool almost the entire night. So we don't really have to keep things running, as opposed to the concrete home I was in. It was almost, it would warm up and then it just stayed warm. So the Coven Tech is just a great way to keep the house cool. It's one of the things I've really enjoyed about being in the home.
Definitely.
Yeah, Michelle said you should take a break from talking so she can hear the birds. So Michelle and Richard have a couple of birds up in Canada, and they're going to design a home that can accommodate bringing their birds down. And while they were down here for a visit, all the parrots put on a show for them. We had a little hi there. We had a little cocktail and dinner hour out on the porch, and they all showed up just for Michelle and Richard. I noticed, Michelle, the next few days they were coming by, they were looking for you. So yeah, I see the birdie perched on her shoulder there. They're gonna have friends to talk to. All right, let's see. Evan is asking, what if any appliances are included in the home build? Are there options to get fully furnished by selecting packages, et cetera? Is it all a carte on your own? So I'll let you speak to this one, Phil.
Yeah, so we used to have just like 2 packages when we started just doing cottages. Really, my original vision for Carmelita Gardens it was not as ambitious as it is now. The homes, like Kristen's beautiful home here, I really, at the very beginning of Carmelita Gardens, like I said, my residents were 80 cows. I wasn't sure what to expect. I thought, little cottages were off grid, maybe, something like the Tortuga, 2-bedroom, 1-bath. So now things have changed, and we've really gone a lot to a la carte, not, out of, like we intentionally set it up that way. It's just sort of organically evolved that way. But we do have packages that we can set up for you to make it easier than having to come down and select. And it is something that we've talked more and more about. Kristen, going through the process, she said, yeah, it's nice to think that you can just pick whatever you want. It's a little bit of decision overload. There's like too much to do. So it would have been nice if we just said, okay, you have a choice between this or this. And we know that this is available here locally, rather than trying to have to source stuff and having it shipped down and all of that. That gets complicated. So we are now really simplifying the process for folks. As I mentioned, that we're redoing all of our construction with the depot and just how we're doing the selections. So now where our building and design queue is, I think by the time we're ready to queue up, was it Evan? Yep, Evan, when we're ready to queue you up, we'll have a selection package for you to just make it easier.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, for example, furniture. There's a lot of carpenters down here that can build custom furniture. The cabinets that you saw Phil pan through in my home, I was part of the process and how I wanted those cabinets built. I wanted a hideaway trash can, so it's like built into the cabinetry. So you have some influence on how the cabinets are built, and built-in armoires, things like that for dressers. And those things would be considered, upgrades. So you'll want to make sure you're communicating well with the design person in terms of how much you want to have done, so the quote can be more accurate to what you're looking for. Brian is asking if you can drill a well for water. We have looked around to see if we can get well water, but it's just not something that's going to produce enough water that would be able to take care of a home or the community. Yeah,
what we found is over by the cottage. Actually, we didn't go through the garden. We have to do that. But yeah, we'll do that next time. But if you want a garden tour, when you do a house tour or whatever, a specific tour with Kristen, she can take you through the garden. So at the garden, we did a well there that was to supply water for the whole cottage row as well as irrigation for the garden. We ended up drilling about 500 feet. So the well driller, he said that this area, he's a Mennonite, and this is an area close to where Spanish Lookout, the Mennonite community is, and they're kind of the commercial center of the country. So they do a lot of well drilling and other things. And he said he just wasn't sure, that they haven't had a lot of success on this side of the river other than shallow wells. So we've been able to do shallow wells about 30 to 35 feet deep, but we wanted, a big, artesian Sweetwater well. And we got to about 300 feet and we found some nice kind of wet gravel, and we thought, oh, this is it. But we got a little deeper and it was just pink clay. This is an alluvial plain. This is, an old river plain here. And so we got to 400 feet. He said, hey, go another 100 feet. It's on me if we don't find anything. If we do, then you pay for it. So we went to 500 feet and we still only got pink clay. So we spent about $50,000 Belize dollars to find out for you that you can do a shallow well. He capped it at about 35 feet and we get 13 gallons per minute, which for irrigation and just slowly filling cistern for the cottages works. So the answer is yes, but not a deep well that produces, hundreds of gallons, a minute or anything like that. Like I said, right now, I think we're getting about 13 gallons per minute. So we put a UV light on it and it works. So that's your option when it comes to a well. The rain here, we get 64 to about, I would say 64 to 70 inches per annum. And right now is the dry season from April to May. We only get a couple of inches a month. So that's why we have the cisterns in order to store anywhere from 7 to 11,000 gallons. That gets you through a couple of dry months. But most of the rest of the year, it's fine. It's just replenished. We get enough rain to just keep replenishing the water usage.
Yeah, and if you have received an email from me that talks a little bit about just general costs for different types of builds, like a cottage, a bungalow, or a villa, when we quote prices or estimates on the sizes of homes, it includes the off-grid package. So the filtration system for the water, an estimate on the solar. So we know when you're living here that you need to have all of those things included in the home. So that's also part of that estimated price. Elizabeth is saying she just wanted to let us know how much she's enjoyed the design process. Elizabeth, I can't wait to see the house and meet your beautiful dog. Phil and Louise have designed a beautiful bungalow that's currently in the drafting phase. That's great. Yep. She's looking forward to seeing construction underway. Me too. Thank you, Elizabeth. She's saying she loves the new villa. And by the way, her son, Charles, hello, Charles, is on the call. Thanks for coming. Nice to have you. Bruce, I'm glad you made it to the call. So Bruce is a new owner of a lot just from January. I'm glad you were able to make it. I know you might have had a bit of a conflict, so glad to see you could be here. Any plans for an electric vehicle charger on site? He understands that Belize Electric is putting one in San Ignacio. I do not know the answer to that question.
The answer is yes, when the time comes, we will have one here. Right now, we have e-bikes, or Elisa has e-bikes. Those are easy to charge. They're just, regular 110. You just plug them in and they charge. But as electrical vehicles become, more popular and there's a demand for it, then certainly. I did see the new charge station in San Ignacio. It's over by the McCall Park, that's behind Guavalim.
Oh, okay.
It's facing towards the CK's, the restaurant right there. Yeah, it's a little charging station right there. Yeah, okay. So it's been installed, Bruce. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you down here. I don't know when that's going to be, but hopefully soon. And
he's ready to start the design process. So yes. We got to get him over to, I'll be getting you over to Louise very soon, Bruce.
And I just want to say, Elizabeth, thank you. And you're right. Louise is fantastic. She's a great designer. Everybody, I'm telling you, we're very blessed with the whole staff that we have. These ladies here and Louise and Rosalio, Rich, Tim, the whole gang. We have a great staff. And it starts here and goes through the whole, the design process and the building. And so we just really try to make that as easy as possible for you.
One of the things I wanted to follow on with the electrical cars is, all that said, with having an electrical charger, I wouldn't in the near term plan to bring down a car. A small SUV is going to hold up better on these roads. And to one of the questions that we have from Ashley about how close we are to towns and cities, it's 7 miles, one direction to Spanish Lookout, which is like the industrial capital, if you will, of Belize. A lot of the agricultural industry happens in Spanish Lookout. It's a very Mennonite community there. And then the other direction is San Ignacio. So it's 7 miles right now to San Ignacio. If they put in a bridge that we hear is in the pipeline, it will be about 3 miles that will get us over into Santa Elena, which is kind of a sister town to San Ignacio. So getting us much closer to civilization, if you will. And as Phil likes to say, right ahead of the path of progress. If that bridge goes in, that'll make it really nice for folks to just hop over to Santa Elena, get grocery shopping done and get into the city. So right now we kind of have to wrap around, and it's a 7-mile drive. If you're a biker or a walker, you can get into Santa Elena on a swing bridge, which is where they're intending to put the bridge in the coming years. And we're on Belizean time. So what that means in terms of time frame, I don't know. Rob is saying that his wife doesn't like the heat and humidity too much. Can we talk about the weather briefly? So I would say if you plan on being snowbirds, April and May is a good time to be back in whatever area you're from, because in a lot of places, especially if you're North America, Canada, April and May is going to be a much more tepid climate in April and May. Belize, it's the hottest couple of months of the year. Once the rains start in July or June or July, it tends to cool things off. So the heat and humidity kind of builds up in April and May. We have a great breeze here right now. It's also one of the things I like about Carmelita. The breezes really help keep things cool. And then from about June on, the rain just kind of helps with bring the heat down. When it rains, and it'll build up a little bit, and then it rains again. The best months of the year to be here, in my view, where you're going to have just really beautiful weather, nice to be outside, is about October, November through March. I don't know if you'd agree with that, Phil, but that's kind of the nice time frame.
Yeah, so there's still people joining. So
great. Yeah. Hello to all of you who are joining.
I'm sorry, say that again.
We're talking about the weather. I was saying, I think October to March is probably some of the nicest months that you get in Belize.
Yeah,
so.
October, you still get some rain, and the river's a little bit higher than this is a nice time of the year. I would say January, February, March, and now April. Things are starting to heat up, and we get less rain. It's drier, like Kristen was saying.
There we go. Okay, I think that should be, yeah, we're good now. All right, so sorry about that. We're just wrapping up talking about the weather. So as long as you've got the breeze in Belize, I think it makes and some shade, like Phil was talking about, makes a difference. Next question is, how far to shopping, hospital, airport? That kind of piggybacks the question about how close to towns and cities. So Spanish Lookout, one direction, San Ignacio, the other direction. Just a couple of days ago, my 7-year-old daughter was practicing some gymnastics, and she did a back bend thinking her sister was going to catch her, and she smacked her head hard enough on the ground that she got a concussion, and she started vomiting. So I was worried, and I took her into Spanish Lookout, which is a very Mennonite area, and they have kind of an alternative healing center called Shining Star Clinic there. And I took Ivy in, and they gave her an IV that would help with reduce any swelling on the brain. She's doing great now, but that was 20 minutes away, so I was able to get her over there, and she felt a lot better after she had that IV to help with the swelling. You can also go into San Ignacio, and there's a couple of hospitals, or into Belmopan, which is about a 40-minute drive, to have more Western style medicine, where they've got all the imaging equipment that you'd need for, if I had needed to take Ivy in for a CT scan, it would have just been 40 minutes to Belmopan. And if you're curious to know about costs, she spent about 5 hours at the clinic getting that IV and a lot of really wonderful care. And I left spending not even $100 US for all that treatment. So it's just very affordable. I've had a broken arm for one of my children falling off a horse. We do a lot here in Belize that we didn't do in the States, which can be a little more accident prone. The broken arm, for example, cost us about 500 US all in, you know, the x-rays, the cast, the different appointments, etc. So you can get very good care, and in Belize, they know what their ability is. And so if there's some nuanced thing that is going on, they'll let you know. And so what a lot of folks do is they'll buy maybe like an emergency evacuation insurance policy. So if there's something really urgent or big that they need to tend to, Canadians have their medical system up there. They can fly up to Canada and get the treatment there. Or if folks are on Medicare, for example, in the US, they can get to Texas in about 2.5 hours on a flight. The airport, Brian, is about 2 hours from Carmelita. If I'm driving, it's about 1 hour and 45 minutes. So I think it kind of depends on who's driving, and then how bad are the biting insects. If they love you, it can be a little bit irritating. They love me, and after 2 years, I'm getting pretty used to it. The mosquitoes aren't really problematic, and we don't really get in Carmelita, you know, it's a pretty well-groomed community. We don't want to cut everything down to, you know, the ground, but it also can help keep the insect population down, you know, little critters. So we do try to keep things fairly well groomed, and I think that really helps with the insects. When I go to the coast, for example, they have sand fleas that like to bite, and your legs can get pretty, doctor flies. Yeah, we don't have it.
Cayo, the district, kind of, you know, amongst Belizeans, they're like, oh yeah, there's no insects. Well, it's the tropics, so yes, we do have them, but like Kristen said, it's not bad. I think a combination that we try to keep the standing water down, which wherever you're from, I mean, being from Michigan, and then my family from Minnesota, so you're from Minnesota, you know, the state bird is the mosquito there, because they have, you know, the land of 10,000 lakes. Well, that's a lot of water, that's a lot of mosquitoes. So the same thing is they keep the standing water down, and we got these really nice breezes that it's only like for a short period of time around dusk during the rainy season that you'll see more mosquitoes. But even then, it's not bad, and certainly not compared to other places in Belize and the Savannah areas and the coast. That's much more the mosquitoes, sand fleas.
Yeah, as you get closer to the coast, there's like Hummingbird Highway. It's a little buggier, but they have it's very tropical and lush, which I love. But up here, it's a little more temperate. And my kids, for example, we've been here for 2 years, and I would like lather them up with my doTERRA Terra Shield, you know, bug spray essential oil. And the kids now tell me, they're like, Mom, you got to knock it off. You're not going to get used to the, you know, the bites if you just keep like. So I quit doing that, you know, almost 2 years ago. I'm trying to catch up to them, but they're very well used to it. Is it possible to buy farmland nearby and a rough cost per acre? I'm not sure about the rough cost, but yes, there is farmland nearby. Yeah. Do you have any idea what?
No, actually, I was just checking on some today. We have some other folks that are interested in this, and I got a lead on 50 acres, but it was from like a cousin, which you find, this is kind of Belize, you know, everybody has real estate for sale. It's like, you know, oh, my uncle, my auntie has some property. So today I was looking for about 100 acres for somebody else, and found, like, so I got a lead on 50 acres, and I do have another lead on 100 acres. So I'm actually following up on both of those right now, but it just depends on how accessible it is, and just kind of the lay of the land. And you can't, it's not something where, you know, like in certain areas, like you go to the Midwest and, you know, you're in Nebraska and everything is exactly the same. Here, it's like, oh, well, I've got 100 acres, and it's like, oh, 100 acres right here on the river, and the road goes right to it. Well, you know, that could be $500,000. And it's like, well, I have 100 acres that is $100,000. Like, okay. And you're going and you're going and you're going, and then the road stops. You got to get on a trail and you go, but it's accessible most of the year, right? You know. It's like, So
there's a ravine or a river
Right,
running through
right.
it for 3 months out of the year.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So anyway, Brian, yeah. So we'll make a note of this, and if you're, please, contact Kristen directly, and we can
We've chatted.
bird dog some. Yeah, I'm already doing that. So if I know what you're looking for, I can add it to my list.
We have a family up in the States who is interested in doing like biodiesel. And so what they're looking for, which is what I was looking for, is where can I go and take my family and my kids and live in a community where I have other children that my kids can socialize with. So when we were living at Banana Bank, my kids' best friends were horses, because we're out in, the middle of 4,000 acres and there aren't any other kids around. Well, they're participating in rodeos and they're having a fantastic time with all of that. And we love that. But what I was wanting was community. I really like the idea of having my kids have, multi-generational other kids to play with, but also to be around older folks and elderly folks so that they can really understand the benefit of helping other people in the community out. My 12-year-old's going to be, he's already carrying the 5-gallon water jugs up the stairs for me. So I'm going to be putting him to work, helping some of the other folks. We've got quite a few octogenarians in the community, helping them out. And I think that's just one of the benefits of being at Carmelita. It's not particularly easy in Belize or anywhere, I would argue, to find a community that is focused on sustainable living, off-grid living, and an established community where you have multiple generations residing. So we really hit the jackpot in finding Carmelita as a family.
And that's, just thinking about my own childhood, and I talked to so many other folks here now that they remember, even, in their golden years, they remember their childhood as well. And it was a simpler time in small towns, and, a time where, you could just have a lemonade stand and they weren't going to shut you down because you didn't get a permit or something like that. We could still have lemonade stands here. And we had the original owner, Dan Silva, his granddaughter, when she was just, knee high to a bucket, helped plant some of the fruit trees that then a couple of years ago, she started Emmy's Fruit Freeze. So she was like harvesting the mangoes from the tree that she planted to make these little, like smoothies, and selling them like a lemonade stand. And she was coming to our market days and doing all of it. So my vision was always that this was going to be that kind of same small town environment that I remember growing up as a kid in the Midwest. My first business with my older brother that my dad helped me get set up was night crawlers. So 50 cents a dozen to fishermen, and made enough money to buy my bicycle. And so, yeah, just thinking about, like you said, Ian, toting up, the 5 gallons of water, but also being able to do other things around to make a little extra, walking around money, as a kid. That's also, that's always nice.
He wants to do a car washing business. And I said, you're going to have to build yourself a cistern first. We'll see how we do with that. Anyway, back to my point, this gentleman that's interested in the biodiesel. So his idea was, why not buy a home in Carmelita and then find the farmland nearby so that he can have the kids in a community. They're also homeschoolers, be able to participate in the community, but then there's so much farmland nearby, which again is a real benefit that you have in Cayo district here in Belize. So Rob is asking, he was saying that they were in Belize in 2019, and is the new highway done yet? I'm not sure which one he's referring to. There is a new one that they're building that goes from Belize City, like from the airport, and goes down to Dangriga and Hopkins, and that one's really close to being done. Most of the way to Carmelita Gardens is paved, with the exception of that 7 miles between Spanish Lookout and Carmelita Gardens.
2019, Rob, you might be talking about the road in Cayo that went around Santa Lena with the new bridge.
Oh, okay.
That one is done. It's beautiful. Yeah. That's really a really nice road there. But what Kristen's referring to is the Southern Highway. And that one is, they're really moving along on that one.
I think they only have like a couple of miles or something where it's not done. And so that I think is going to be beneficial for people who want to go from the airport right down to Hopkins and Dangriga and Placencia. Won't have to go all the way through Belmo Pond to get there.
Right.
When you're coming to Carmelita Gardens, you would go through Belmo Pond. and either up and around through Santa Elena and San Ignacio, or cutting through Spanish Lookout to get here. There's a little ferry that you could do too.
Right.
That's kind of cute and fun.
Like
Yep. when they're open, not always the case. Michelle's asking, what is the status on the fiber optic for internet? So I'll let Phil update this one. This is a project that we've been looking at for at least a year now. We've considered the idea of running fiber optic throughout the community. We had one provider say, sure, we'll run it, but you guys have to pay for it. And then we've had another provider say, sure, we'll run it and we'll provide it. So we're just in, so yeah, I'm not sure.
That's the status. Yeah. Right now so when actually Frank, one of our owners, he's a big Alabama football fan, and
gotta have good internet.
Yeah, the internet that he had at the time, right after moving in here, he would, of course, the quarterback drops back and he's getting rid of it, and then it freezes, and he's like, oh, come on, so he started the pursuit of the fiber optic, and with Belize Telecommunication Limited, they were really the fiber optic provider, and so I had one of their consultants come out, took a look at where they had the fiber optic coming to Santa Familia, which I was surprised that it had made it that far. So it's not that far from us, but like Kristen said, then they said, okay, well, we'll do it, but you have to pay for it. And it's like $250,000. And that was never part of the original development pro forma, just because it didn't even exist here in Belize at the time. So I didn't imagine it to happen. So we looked at, what is that, prorated across all of the lots, and some people were gung-ho and other people, well, I'm not sure that I want to pay for it. I'm fine just the way it is. Now the services really have gotten much better.
Yeah.
The download speed and the upload speed that we have for basically it's microwave or satellite feeds that we have. And it's great. I mean, you can see we're using it right now for this call, and people do, live streaming and all of that. So we'll see what's going on with fiber optic. BTL ended up purchasing a smaller company that actually was getting into the fiber optic in a small area of Cayo district. And now they've approached us and said, hey, we'll pay for it. We'll extend the line. But that's as far as we've gotten. We've got no commitment yet, but we'll continue to pursue it because yes, that would be great. But like I said, at $250,000 for us to foot the bill, everybody would have to, pitch in on that, and we don't have 100% buy-in on that just yet.
Yeah, and I have here at the house, so we're streaming right now on Zoom. I sometimes have 3 kids on Zoom meetings at one time, and every once in a while I'll have a little bit of a lag. But for the most part, it works great. And when the kids want to watch a show or we want to watch a movie, we're able to watch it just fine. I know there's a lot of highly technical people who really want to have fast internet, or maybe if you're a gamer, it might not be able to keep up with it. But, in this community, I don't think we have a lot of gamers.
We have people that are consultants, and they'll have, virtual group consulting meetings, and people doing day trading.
Large files to work with. Yeah.
Retirees that just like to watch movies and, doing, Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever. So it works for all of that.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, if you had something like a gamer who really, or if you're, what is it with the Bitcoin, somebody.
Doing a lot of
mining,
crypto. I know people who do that fairly well here. And I need to step away because I have some gas to go refill. So I'm going to let Phil answer the questions while I run and top off my gas.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so we left off at the status of fiber optic. Okay, just received a new edition of In Focus Belize, and they had a piece about touring Carmelita Gardens. Are you part of that effort, or is this a separate thing? No, the In Focus Belize is a publication done by Live and Invest Overseas, and the owners, Leif and Kathy, are good friends. And from actually when they started Live and Invest Overseas, I started Carmelita Gardens. It was at the same time. And so we've worked closely. They're kind of our number one promoter, if you will. And so that is one and the same. The tour that is mentioned, I think it's actually in all of the In Focus Belize publications. They have at the end events. And so we always have tour events happening.
And I think we got a notable mention recently from, was it BEL? Talking about how Belize as a country should follow Carmelita Gardens' lead with
they were
with
talking
off-grid, you know, moving more to solar. I mean, we get plenty of sun, so might as well utilize it.
Yeah. Belize is really pushing renewable resources, and so Belize Electric Limited. I mean, that they provide power from hydro, but at a conference we had a solar guy had a representative there, and he said, "Yeah, they mentioned Carmelita Gardens." He said, "We need to follow Carmelita Gardens' lead in alternative energy sources." And that's where we're really excited about Leroy and his whole biodiesel facility, because that is definitely a renewable resource. He's looking at using hemp as the biomass. So our area representative is now currently the sitting Minister of Sustainable Development, Climate Change, and Disaster Risk Management. So the sustainable development part, it's really just kind of coincidence that Carmelita Gardens happens to be in his area because he's recently elected and appointed to that office. So it's great to have him as our minister, because he really is passionate about it and pushing these kind of alternative energy sources like solar, biodiesel.
Did we address the costs of building a house?
Don't think we did. Okay.
Oh,
so
wait
Rob,
a minute. Did we address the Carmelita Gardens? Are we off-grid only?
Yeah. I mean, the gas truck, is Kristen mentioned, it comes around for propane, but other than that, it's all solar, rainwater catchments, the eco-friendly septic tanks. So yeah, we're not connected to the power or a municipal water or sewage facility. We're independent, which we find to be good. The municipal services are lacking sometimes, and certainly when I started Carmelita 10 years ago, it's still the village is upgraded its rudimentary water system just only in the last, I think, like the last month, and so it wasn't more than just a few months ago where the whole village was out of water, and they're going down to the river and they're trying to boil water and all of that. So there was a definite, conscious decision that we want to be off grid in a sustainable, resilient way and in a healthy way. So we filter all the water, we do all of that. So yes, the answer to the question is we are off grid only.
So I was on the grid with electricity before moving out here, and in the hotter months like April, May, and again, the home that I was in just kind of trapped the heat. We had 1 month where our electricity bill was 900 Belize, so 450 US. And you're not going to have that every month unless it's really warm and you have a few divas in the house like I do, including myself. I like practicing hot yoga. I don't like living in the heat sometimes. But if you want to keep your costs down, once you have that package in your solar package, it's really nice because all you're doing is saving to upgrade potentially your system down the road.
Yeah, and I revisit the numbers all the time, and as the cost goes down, the efficiency goes up of solar and these alternative systems. Then we just a few years ago, I think it was around 2019, just before the whole COVID thing, we had finally kind of reached on par what you would pay for electricity per kilowatt hour and what it costs to just put some money aside in savings for when it comes time to if you have to replace something, batteries, panels are like 25 years, something like that, but you want to start having the capital fund for that. So I revisit it all the time, and we're definitely better now. We, like I said, we passed that point around 2019, 2020.
Yeah, and I enjoy having it. All right, so
lot in house costs.
Yeah, lot in house costs. So I can send this to you too, Rob. People like to ask a lot about, what's the cost based on square footage. That's hard to do because when you have an off-grid sustainability package with the solar and everything, there's going to be a set cost for any home, right? You're going to have an inverter, all the things that come with the solar. So if if it's you and one other person and you want to live in something like one of the cottages that we drove by, and you're on one of the quarter-acre green garden lots, the cost for those lots starts at $39,000, and then to build a cottage with all with everything in it would be about $120,000. So the minimum you'd want to budget for to live at Carmelita Gardens is $160,000 US. There is a financing option that we offer on the purchase of the lot. We do not have financing available for the build or for the structure, but it's something that we've been discussing and have come up with a number of ideas to help pair borrowers with lenders within the community to help bring more folks in that are wanting to live at Carmelita, have a good source of income, can pay a quote mortgage, if you will, and help with that along the way. So you'd want to budget at least 160 and up. And like I said, I can send you an email that outlines, moving up into a bungalow, which is a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, or into a villa, which is more like the 2 bedroom, 1 or 2 plus bath, etc. So I can get that over to you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to add on?
No, you got it.
Okay.
You said that before.
I know, I've covered that a few times. John is asking if anyone in the neighborhood has tried Starlink. We're not, I think Belize in general isn't set up for being able to tap into Starlink yet. We do have Frank, the one who was working on the fiber optic, the Alabama fan. He's, I think, already signed up for it, or he's like in whatever list to let him know when it's available in the area. So that's something that some of the residents are already paying attention to, and will be letting folks know if it comes our way. I think in Belize in general, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Belize City is the only area in Belize that has more than just 3G. I think they're 4G, but like most of the country is still 3G.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, we're not, but
Mhm.
it works for me. I wouldn't know the difference if they
Yeah.
turned a switch and it flipped to 5G tomorrow. I probably wouldn't know much of a difference. What is the cost of gas per gallon? Brian, I'm not sure if you're referring to driving a car. If you're talking about gasoline for a vehicle, you're looking at about $13.50 Belize dollar a gallon. So it's a bit more expensive. Everything here is imported. To Bruce's comment or question earlier about having an electric vehicle, maybe that would be something that would help. So they import all the gasoline. The butane, I just got my receipt. So I got 36.8 gallons for 193 Belize dollars. 525, is that what that is? Okay, 525 a gallon. So that's Belize. So that'd be about 270-ish, 260-ish US per gallon. So that was perfect timing.
Yep.
We had the gas guy show up just for your benefit, Brian. Let's see, do we have any other questions? Did we miss anything?
No, I think that's it right there.
Yeah. So if folks have more questions, and for anyone who's watching the recording, there may be questions that you would have wanted to ask and weren't addressed. You can email your questions to info@carmelitagardens.com. Yes, we will send out the recording. Elisa, can you confirm we send it out to anybody who's registered? Yes. Yeah, so we send out the recording to anyone who's registered. And we'll get the emails at info@carmelitagardens.com, and I'll respond as quickly as I can to address your questions about what's happening at Carmelita or anything related. And Brian's saying, thanks so much for both of us. Great presentation. Thank you. Phil's done this a couple of times before. I bet I could wake him up in the middle of the night and he could just start. We're at the part about the rain tree, answering questions. So, yeah, we want to be thorough. What I tell people when they come for visits, and we would love it if you could all come for a visit. We have a discovery tour scheduled in August. We'd love to make this a family-focused discovery tour with activities for kids and really making it a fun event for families and for anyone who wants to come. That currently is scheduled for August 17th to the 20th. We can accommodate guests outside of Discovery Tours as well. So if there's a time frame that works for you to come down for a visit, please do come down. But what I tell folks when they come for an on-site tour, and we go around, the virtual tours are fantastic. When you can come here and feel a breeze, and Michelle and Richard know, and you can hear the birds chirping and see all the butterflies flying around, which are everywhere. It's really a great experience. My goal when you come is to make sure that you have as much information as you need to make a sound decision that you're comfortable with. If you're going to be my future neighbor, I want you to feel like you've been fully informed on everything you may want to know. So we're very transparent with our answers and what we think you might need to know, and answering questions to the best of our ability. Michelle's saying, check my email. Okay, let's see. All right, so thank you, Michelle. I'll follow up with that offline a little bit later. Yeah, thank you all so much for joining. For all the owners who popped in to see what's happening at Carmelita lately, we have the barbecue on Friday. You'll be with us in spirit. We'd love to have you down here. Yeah, Michelle's saying she can attest to that. Everyone at Carmelita Gardens is amazing. We can't wait to have you guys down here, Michelle. And Michelle, make sure you bring your dad with you. He's got her father came along and he was flanked by single women at dinner and was having a fantastic time. So need to bring him back down. Let's see. All right. Michelle saying, "Oh, Lordy."
Oh, and David too. Yep. David,
oh,
we
David.
miss you. Yep. Y'all get down.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, David and I were going back and forth a little earlier. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining.
Yep.
Send us any questions, and we look forward to seeing you. For all of you owners, when you can get down here and move down here, we can't wait for that. Come on down for a visit, and any visitors who want to check us out, love to have you too.
Yep.
So one of the questions we get a lot is, what are the different titles that can be held in terms of land at Carmelita Gardens? I'm going to let Phil answer this one.
Okay.
He has a few years experience addressing this.
So in Belize, there are three types of title. There's a land certificate, a title, transfer of title, and then a deed of conveyance. I think the transfer of title is an old one. Deed of conveyance is more recent, and then the most recent ones are land certificates. Carmelita Gardens is in the deed of conveyance. It's for more rural areas. The areas that have land certificates are really like the cities and the towns. So a deed of conveyance, it's still an old and respect. All of the titles are clear, very good titles. In fact, years ago, I remember talking to this lady from First American Title Insurance Company, and she did international conferences all the time, and she would say, of all of the countries, I recommend title insurance in every single country, but not Belize, because the titles are all good there. And if you think about it, Belize has recently had its independence. It goes back to being a crown colony, self-governance in the 1950s. A lot of the titles don't have many ownership changes. It goes from, the Queen, from Crown land. It might have only had a couple of owners before that. In Carmelita Gardens in particular, it was an all new subdivision. So before it was able to be subdivided, it had to be a clean title. And it was. Again, it didn't have that many owners prior to Carmelita Gardens. And then it starts off as a completely fresh, new set of titles. So as a deed is being conveyed from the mother title, it's the first time. It's clean. And so we've conveyed, I think it's probably, at least, I don't know, maybe close to 100 deeds at this point. And so the process is really smooth. We had hired some agents in the past, but we just do it all in-house now. And we've got the system down. And so you get good, clean deed of conveyance, and it can be conveyed to you as an individual, or it can be conveyed to an entity. If you have a company, a trust, a foundation, self-directed IRA. In fact, Kristen has helped some folks set up self-directed IRAs, and that's a really good thing. If it's an investment, and the individual we're talking about had already purchased property in a house, very comfortably ensconced in his home here, And then he's like, I want to get money, out, offshore. And it would be great to invest in Carmelita Gardens. Obviously, he and his wife are here. They're believers. They're very happy. And he's like, I want to reinvest. But if I take money out now, there's going to be major, penalties. And so I said, well, I think you could just do a self-directed IRA. And Kristen has done it before. And I said, well, why don't y'all talk? And so then, Kristen, you just did this. This is just in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
And it went
This year
smooth
already.
and was able to get his money offshore quickly, legally, into a good, solid investment with clear title. And then Elisa, she processes our deeds. And so immediately she got the property tax statement, got everything submitted. So again, it could be individual or some other entity, including self-directed IRAs.
Yeah, let me know if you have questions about how to do the self-directed IRA. I've helped, I think, with three or four lots now. Or if you're looking to invest and you want to have be a real estate investor within your IRAs, that's where the self-directed IRAs can come in real handy. And it is a legitimate investment when you have U.S. I'm knowledgeable with U.S., not really Canada. So if it's U.S. dollars in an IRA account in the U.S., and you want to get that money offshore but still have it held in the IRA in the US, that's where the self-directed IRA comes in, and it's not too difficult a process, and we can help you out with that. To one of Phil's points about having the title transfer process, one of the things that happens, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, Phil, is when it gets to the lands department, it does take them a little while because they're going back and they're looking through the history of the deed. So when you have a title that's pretty clean and you don't have a long list of prior owners, it can get through the review process in the lands department a little bit quicker. So I think one of the benefits to having a title within Carmelita is it's pretty clean and a quick review.
Well, and to the point of the First American Title Insurance lady is it does take longer in Belize, but they really do their due diligence. In fact, just today, Elise and I found that, again, a previous agent had gotten an acreage wrong. Now, this was not for Carmelita Gardens. This was a separate property. And instead of 113.48 acres, is which it said on the survey, this other agent had put in 113.50 acres. Well, it got through all the valuation, and then it got to their mapping department. This has been going on for about 4 or 5 months. But they caught it and said, hey, this needs to be corrected before it can continue on through the system. So I think that's the reason that the title insurance agent wasn't even recommending title insurance, is because they really do their due diligence. They go through like every word of the deed of conveyance and make sure that it is consistent with the historic surveys, with the new subdivision plan. So it can be frustrating waiting, but the reassurance is they're doing their job to make sure that you've got a clean deed.
Well, and one of the things that, Phil, I think you can clarify here is when the deed, so one of the questions we also get that piggybacks this title transfer question is, well, do I need to wait a year to get my title? It can take a while to get that title fully through the lands department and get that paper copy in your hand, which you need to hold in safekeeping in a safe place. Because it's not easy to get new ones printed if you lose it. But when the deed or the title gets to the lands department and it's shifting from Carmelita Gardens, Phil is the developer here, and it's moving into your name, once they issue what's called an LTU number, it's essentially saying this property or this lot belongs to you, and then it's on Belizean time to process the rest of that paperwork to get that title updated and in your name. So I don't know if you can
I think
fill any holes there.
Yeah, again, just for the familiarity for a lot of people in the U.S. and Canada, it's similar. When you buy a piece of property, you go to the closing table and you sign the papers and you exchange money. Well, you don't get the new title right there, or the new deed. It's submitted to a municipality, it's processed, and then you get your title. But you have sole ownership, and possession of the property at that point. And it's the same thing. You pay for your property, We do the deed of conveyance. It's submitted to the lands department, and you have an LTU number. That's it. It is your property. Now we just have to wait for them to do their job, and we continue to follow up. Like I said, Elisa's doing it, and there's an LTU number that Kristen referred to. We send that to you, and you're actually able to log in to the Department of Natural Resources. That's they're the ministry that the lands department is under. So you can log into that ministry's site, put in your LTU number, and then you know where it is in the process. And it goes through many different sections along the way, from mapping, registration, valuation, indexing, cashier review. There's just several steps. And like, again, each one is checking, dotting the I's, crossing the T's as it goes through the process. But during that whole process, again, the Carmelita Gardens no longer has any claim on it. It is your full possession and sole ownership at that point. So it's just like what you would see in the States or in Canada.
All right. Thank you for that question.
QRP and residency.
So one of the questions that we get a lot and that many people have about Belize in general is, what does it take to live there? What are the residency options, and how long does it take to attain citizenship? So, standard, the regular residency option, we'll talk to in a moment, but there's also a program called the Qualified Retiree Program. Did I get the acronym correct?
Yeah, QRP.
And this is for folks who are, I believe, at least 45 years old, and they have the ability to show or to deposit $2,000 US per month into a Belizean bank account, which entitles the QRP pursuer to bring down a number of items without having to pay any tariffs or duties on those items. I am not real knowledgeable about the QRP, so I wanted Phil to answer the question about the QRP, and then I could talk a little bit more about the regular residency process. I have a family, I've brought down children, and can talk to a little bit the benefit of pursuing residency for a family, anyone really, but also for families with children. So do you want to address QRP?
Yeah. So you got it right. It's really designed for retirees. There are other people that I've seen over the years that have tried to kind of sneak in, and because the big advantage is that you can bring in your household goods and your personal effects, a vehicle, a boat, and an airplane, all duty free. So all the import duties are exempt when you qualified for the Qualified Retired Persons Program. But you're not allowed to work then. You cannot, have a job
in Belize.
In Belize.
Yes. So there's
Right.
something to distinguish there. Yes, you cannot
Right.
have an employment within Belize, working a Belizean job, earning a Belizean income, which is one of the
Right.
reasons I did not consider it, even though I hit the age requirement. Giving away my age here.
Yeah. So it is designed for retirees, and like Kristen was saying, that you need to show that you have a pension, some ability to fund yourself living here, and they require that you deposit $2,000 US into a Belize account every year. Now it's your money. You're not giving it to them. You're just depositing it into your own account. So it's your money, and the expectation is you're spending that money here, and you're retired, and you're not taking Belizean jobs. You're not working. Remember, years ago there was I think it was a Canadian gentleman who started a real estate business, and he had signs, big billboards everywhere with his face up there. It's like, hey, I'm a real estate agent, I got my company. And they found out he was actually on the QRP. Well, they showed up and said, hey, you're obviously working, you're violating the QRP, we're gonna deport you, or you need to pay duty on all of the stuff that we gave you a concession on. The deal was, you agreed that you're retired, and he violated that. So if you're gonna work, that's fine. You can get work permits, you can qualify for residency. There's other ways to do that. The QRP, if you're really just coming down here to retire, it's a great program, because, and if you're coming down here to retire and you got a bunch of stuff, and that's the other thing is, most people recommend, I include, don't bring a bunch of stuff. You're coming to have a simple life, and there are people that have done it and regretted it. I know one of our residents, Tony, he played it right. He didn't do the QRP. He's like, I'm not bringing a bunch of stuff. You know, I got 40 boxes and a bicycle, and most of those boxes are full of books. So I don't have a bunch of stuff. I'm not bringing down a boat and an airplane or anything like that. And I want to have permanent residency. So I don't want to do QRP, and I may want to work too. So he didn't. He came down, he moved down, he stayed here for a year, just on his own. He went to immigration, he did everything he needed to do. He qualified for permanent residency, which requires being in the country for 1 year and only leaving for 14 days. You can only leave for 2 weeks out of the year, and it doesn't have to be the calendar year. It's just
consecutive weeks.
Consecutive weeks. You begin your qualifying year. So once you've done that, you can apply for residency, and once you have your residency, then 5 years, you can then get a passport. You can apply for citizenship after you've been a resident for 5 years. So for a lot of people, that probably makes more sense. You know, for me personally, I've been coming to Belize for 20 years. I started working 20 years ago on a project up in northern Belize, but I was coming and going all of the time. I could never qualify for permanent residency. I didn't want to do QRP because I was working. They did have a temporary residency, kind of an economic residency for a while. They stopped it, and they've started again.
And now they have one like a tourist, like a digital nomad, you know, a workaway thing. There's plenty of different options, but the two that seem to be pretty consistently offered are the QRP and just the traditional residency. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are the two that most people are going to want. And the permanent residency, like I said, you have to be here. Now, if it doesn't work out for you, if you're a snowbird and you also don't want to go through the QRP, you can just come and go. But what that means is that then you have a tourist visa that you would need to get extended each month, although you can go and they'll do 2 or 3 months at a time.
Right.
So that's the other option, and that's basically what I've done over the years until qualifying for permanent residency. But like 19 years after first coming, before that it was just coming and going or getting an extension. And just go to the nearest immigration office. For us, it's Belmopan. Yep. You go there and you get a number. And
it was really quick today, so I got there
right.
today. I went today with 2 of my 3 children.
Right.
My son and his dad are on a different cycle, and we went in today. It used to be I'd show up when the immigration office opened, and I don't know if they've streamlined or what's happened. They've started moving along a lot faster. So we were in the queue waiting for only 5 minutes, and we got in around 10, and I was going in the afternoons when people tend to head off to lunch, and if you're there right after lunch, it goes pretty fast. But on the topic of the traditional residency option, right now it costs $100 US a month or 200 Belize per person per month to extend your visa. So if you're a single person and you're coming on your own, you're going to pay $1,200 US a year for those stamps if you're staying here to qualify for residency, or if you just don't want to go anywhere. And if you're a couple, plan on spending $2,400 or $4,800 Belize, $2,400 US, $4,800 Belize. So if you think about that and you bring in kids are not part of the couple that's bringing in the kids. They also have to pay the visa stamp fees, and it's the same price. It's not like they get half price or grandfathered in. So for me, my kids and their dad, we've been spending $500 US a month, which is not a small amount of change. So their dad was really focused on getting qualification to apply for the residency program. So he dug in and was like, I'm not going back up to the States. I, on the other hand, was going back and forth to deal with stuff that we had in storage once we knew we were staying down here. So today when we checked in on the residency, I found out that as an adult, you're paying 4,000 Belize or 2,000 US once you qualify to pay for your residency card. But once you have that residency card, you do not have to go in for any more visa stamps. So it really can make sense to do it if you plan to live in Belize longer than, say, a couple of years, which most people coming down to Carmelita Gardens, this is the intent, unless you're doing snowbirds, and then that likely wouldn't be necessary. And then when you add on the cost of the kids, so then the kids are an additional 2,000 Belize per child. So For him and the 3 children, it will be 10,000 Belize or 5,000 US, which is a decent chunk of change. But if you think about spending, 400 US a month every month for the next year, it really is going to pay off for us to just pursue the residency and take care of it that way. I don't know what the cost for the QRP program is. I don't know if you know.
Oh, well, you know what? I forget now.
Yeah, we'll have to.
I don't want to.
Make up a number.
Yeah.
We do have a number of residents that have utilized agents and consultants that help with the process, and they can help you open up your bank accounts, do a consultation to talk about whether or not the QRP is right for you. I can't say I'm the right person to do that, but we can send some of those people, some of those agents or consultants information out, and you could pursue if utilizing something like that makes sense for you.
And a lot of the Belize, the government agencies have really become much easier to work with, and working with them online after or during COVID, they went electronic with a lot of things. Like recently we were dealing with work permits, which in the past you hire a consultant and things drag on and on and on and on. So we actually started to go down that path, and then finally it's like, okay, this is ridiculous. So talk to the folks at labor and there's nothing anybody can do to help you do it any faster, any cheaper. Just get online, upload all of your documents into the portal, and then the labor department will contact you. You go in for your interview, then you will go to Social Security, Treasury, Immigration, you take care of all of that. And it was about 2 weeks. It was the whole process from uploading stuff into the portal to getting the interview, going by Social Security, going to Treasury. Social Security card took a little bit longer to get, but it was all done.
And this was for the workers.
For the work permit. Yeah.
It takes a little bit longer for residency, not to submit the stuff, but the process for the residency.
But talking about, like the QRP, it's, and what Tony did with the residency and, hiring consultants, sometimes you're just better off. And Tony did. He went and just did it himself because he was here.
Yep.
And he just went to immigration, figured it out. And this is one of the advantages of being in Carmelita Gardens. We have people that have been through all of these different steps already.
We can crowdsource those answers.
Moved their family down. They've done, apply for immigration. They've done QRP. They've done work permits. So there's a wealth of knowledge just right here in the community, and a lot of really helpful people.
Yeah. And we actually have one resident who's figured out how to take the PDF for the residency application, which usually is you just have to go. He's got it all uploaded in a fillable PDF, so you can just punch it in. But Donald, of course it's Donald, and can print it off, and he's always thrilled to help people get that stuff filled out. So so there's a couple of good options for people to consider when they move down here. So that's a little bit. Anything else to add on QRP or the traditional residency?
No, like I said, it's an individual thing. My uncle did the QRP because he legitimately was retired, and he was bringing down his big F-350 pickup truck and his 35-foot Bertram
when am I going
sailing yacht.
Right,
exactly. So, then it makes sense. You got all that in duty free. It's for sure.
And you want to make sure you're able to maintain that at, what is it, a minimum of 5 years, I think. And then after 5 years, don't they shift to like a traditional resident?
I forget, they've changed some of the things and continue to changing them.
That's why it really helps to do the research and stay in touch with the folks who are doing stuff down here, because sometimes they'll change the nuances to the program. But what I've heard is you want to make sure for at least 5 years you're able to drop that 24,000 US a year into your bank account. It's one of the more simple ways to get a bank account in Belize. Getting a Belizean bank account isn't always the easiest thing to do, but for QRP residents, it's like part of the deal. You have to have a bank account so you can prove the money's coming in, and so they actually help you get that set up.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point. Yep, very good.
All right, thanks for that question.